Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Sports Report After Dark. I am Seven, and with me always is my useless co-host, Dan the Dick Warner.
Oh, that's not what your mom co-host was saying. I don't know. It was a terrible.
It's fucking weak. God damn it, Dan! I told you to be prepared for this. What the fuck?
Yeah, well, I can't ever be prepared when I don't know what you're going with. So we have to discuss this beforehand. We didn't do any prep work.
Yeah, but it's hold on. Let's go ahead and throw this up here. I mean, but when do we ever fucking do prep work? Like, let's be honest here.
Fuck.
Come on, that would make us professionals.
We work hard. We work hard up in here. We work hard.
Oh God. Professionals like Ken Rosenthal that get fired by the MLB because he was honest about fucking Robert Manfred.
I'll tell you what, Ken Rosenthal does not have to finish an 18-pack of beer during one broadcast. That is a whole new thing. And while doing it under the influence of weed and other drugs, just it's hard. It's hard sometimes.
It is, and I feel bad for Ken. I mean, and obviously he's still got the other stuff going on, so it's not like he's going to be out of work or anything. ESPN's going to use the fuck out of him. Fox is going to use the fuck out of him. I mean, it's
probably a promotion, honestly.
I mean, they're going to give him more money. And it's because, I mean, you now have a very well-known analyst that you have just weaponized against you. And so the second rumors start trickling out that the ownership is turning on him, is turning on Manfred, because it's going to happen sooner rather than later, I think. That Ken Rosenthal is going to be leading that fucking charge like Joe Rogan against Carlos Mencia going, fuck you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, man, I wanted to do this tonight because it has been an interesting few days. Antonio Brown seems to has lost his fucking mind.
Yep.
So, all right, let's go through the timeline here. And if I'm missing anything, you can fill me in. So Sunday against the Jets, he walks out of the game, middle of the third quarter, throws his jersey and his pads off, throws his shirt and gloves into the crowd, runs off to the state, runs off the field, waving, hooting, hollering, waves off into the crowd. He's done. Bruce Arians says,
minus the fans, Tony, I've done that 5-6 times to a job. Minus the fans and the prestigious accolades and the salary and the fame and the talent. I've done that 5 or 6 times. So I am just like Antonio Brown, minus the fame and the accolades and the talent and the money and self.
I mean, and who amongst us wouldn't love to quit a job just in an epic fashion? I mean, come on, like I think that could just be considered a human urge at this point, just to be able to just walk off in fanfare and screw you guys and screw this and all of that stuff. Like I could definitely see that as being like a a powerful experience for anybody that's had the pleasure of doing it. But I mean, Antonio Brown immediately after this happens, after the game, releases a rap song. Did you see this? Have you listened to it yet?
I have not listened to the rap song, no.
Me neither, because I'm not even gonna.
I should have just for research, so I can get angry and gangster at 3:00 in the afternoon. That's what I want to do. Yeah,
I mean, is it just the anthem of any day's a half day if you just fucking leave?
Pretty much.
Is that what it's gonna be?
It has to be. It has to be. There's a saying in a St. Joseph Cheddar's Kitchen, St. Joseph, Missouri. There's this saying, when you don't want to work that shift anymore, Tony, you just say, I'm going to go get some tomatoes, because I quit like that one time. They told me to go get some tomatoes on my first day. I was back there for 45 minutes in the kitchen, and I was like, this is way too fucking busy. I am out of here.
You tapped out of the Ched's kitchen in 45 minutes?
45 minutes, dude. Here's the thing, because I just got done at 54th Street, and everybody knows 54th Street, right? Yeah, they're just as fucking busy, and I literally was like, I don't want to do this anymore. 5 years of that is too much. I was like, I'm not trying to just like restart this whole thing in a different place. That sounds like fucking hell.
I could see that.
And I had a job interview at 1:00 that afternoon. I started at 11. So I got across town, got the other job, worked there for 2 years. So it actually ended up working out really nice. But it doesn't usually work like that for people. They usually go home and drink themselves into depression.
Especially in St. Joe. But no, and so, he puts out this rap song, and news starts trickling out on Monday. It was incentive issues. It was, AB starting to say it was his ankle. He goes to, what was it, Nets Grizzlies on Monday night. Um,
How
and then
how is it incentive issues? Because from my
Well, 'cause
understanding,
there was
he was getting thrown at. He did get
well,
thrown at.
well, no, and he was, but so the initial thing was that he was so the first rumor that trickled out when the information started coming in on Monday that I saw was that his issue was they were telling him they weren't going to get him the ball enough to get him the incentives. They were going to intentionally sit him so that he didn't get them. And then there was, and then there was that post about how close he was, which, and then we saw, the information come out about how close he was to those incentives. And it's like in 2 games for Antonio Brown, there's no way Tom Brady's not going to feed him the ball like that. He'd already gotten 5 targets in the first half. He was 3 for 5.
So that kind of like, and the plot thickens with Tom and Bruce thing, because Tom's throwing at him and Bruce hasn't said like, oh, you're not going to get your incentives. But if you don't think Antonio talked to Tom about it, or Tom knows everything. Tom knows everything that's going on with everybody on that field. He knew exactly what was going on, and he was trying to get it for him. He's trying to get it for him. If that coaching staff pulled Antonio Brown because of that, his reaction is not that weird to me. Honestly,
I mean, and that's the thing. And so it wouldn't surprise me if, and with all of the different information that has come out, I wouldn't be surprised to find out when everything is said and done and we're watching the 30 for 30 on the ultimate half day. That's what I want to, that's the name that I want for this Antonio Brown 30 for 30, the ultimate half day.
He's done so much, just more just crazy shit than this, but it's like a cherry on top.
Right. And then we have, he puts out the information saying, puts out the statement about his ankle. And then today he releases the text message. Did you see the text messages that were supposedly between him and Bruce Arians about his ankle?
I did not. See,
that was something. So that was something that I saw today. And then the other thing that came out today, the IG model sharing that all of the team, then everybody needed to get tested because she was snuck into the team hotel the night before the game. And she tested positive. And not just for an STD that he probably gave her.
I was going to say, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, if she came out and was like, he probably got AIDS, I'm like, oh my God, no.
Hi, Kay.
Antonio.
Oh God. Hi, Pun. Sorry. Thank you for joining us. But no, it's like, so with this thing, like we've got all these different things. He shares this stuff about his ankle saying that he had an MRI and, the ligaments torn away from the bone and he's got the bone fragments in there. And, when I think about that injury, first of all, that's not an uncommon injury in a lot of sports, especially where you're running and getting that blast off sports. Like I saw guys in baseball get it. I saw guys in soccer get it that would have it like the mid backs, especially when they had to plant and run. Football, I mean, basketball players get that injury.
Well, your core is a huge, obviously you find a great athlete, you find a great core. That's the old,
Exactly. But like, it's just, so that injury that he has, I'm not saying it's not bad or that it doesn't exist, but basically, if this is true, that this MRI showed this, the injury that he had, a majority of athletes that get this injury play through it till the end of the season. They have the surgery to get it cleaned up after the season. It hurts. They pump them full of pain medication on game day. And when they're not on game day, they're in the cryo chamber. They're home resting. They're not practicing very much. They're trying to let it heal. That's just how it works, especially the veteran guys in the NFL that are ones that are most common get it. Shannon Sharp was talking about it this morning on Undisputed.
Right.
And so you get, so when we look at that, it's like, with this injury, it's like, I can understand, but he's saying that he's saying that is the ankle injury. He was telling him he wouldn't go back in because of the ankle. And Arians looked at him and said, you're done, because he wouldn't go back in and play on the ankle that he said was too hurt to play on.
Right.
And the thing that I struggle with when it comes to that is what if you watch that video of him leaving, I find it hard because he wasn't really limping very much at all in that game. Like if you go back and watch the first half when he was in, it doesn't seem like he was limping.
Right.
So
is he testing? Is there some underlying thing here that he's testing Bruce Arians and going, how much can I get away with? I have Tom on my side. How much can I get away with? And how much can I get away with? And also the injury thing, dude, think about it like 2-1. wide receivers they take about half the hits that running backs do contact wise, maybe 3-1, something like that. So he's at that point where that 4 or 5 year running back point where he's going to start, he slows down. And if you're not at the top of your game completely, and you're obviously, you can be Jerry Rice and be 38 and just be running routes that are so crazy, apparently, that nobody can cover them, which I don't find even halfway understandable, but that's beside the point and not what we're talking about right now.
Right.
But he's going to slow down naturally. He's not Pittsburgh 2015 Antonio Brown. Clearly,
we're not going to see that out of him ever again. Like, there's no way.
No. Well, unless he starts mega juicing. But
I mean,
no, even then, he'll just.
I just. That's the thing is I think he's too far past that at this point. I don't think there's any way. And it's not to say that in his prime he was not great, but I think that and my stance on this is I've come to a point, and the IG model thing coming out this morning confirmed to me exactly the way that I was thinking. Shannon Sharpe has been, and Shannon Sharpe's been saying it. And when I look at this, I really feel like he's right. And a lot of it comes down to, he has been so fucking entitled. It has been that, as Sharpe was saying this morning, production versus tolerance.
Yeah.
Because he produced so much, he got away with a bunch of shit. And now he can't do that anymore. No. Because even for Bruce Arians, who is very much a fucking player's coach, he is very much a player's coach.
Right.
I mean, think about why he got kicked out why he got fired from Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
He was too close to Roethlisberger.
Right. So he uses his quarterbacks kind of as he uses quarterback. Hey, big brother. Hey, big brother, pick me up on this one. Like, I'm kind of, and like, they all love him because I'm sure he obviously is a very, what's the word? Charismatic guy, right? So he's probably a charismatic guy. They all probably like him, but they only know the one, they know that one that's in front of other people. Let's just say that they know that AB.
Right.
They don't probably know the other one, and nor do they want to at this point, because they've only seen the one side. They're like, oh, he's our friend. And like this, he can't be that absolutely batshit crazy. And they're like, oh, he might be that batshit crazy.
I mean, I will say to Arian's point on the fact that he got leeway this year with all of the shit that was going on, is when you think about it, like for last season, once, with AB, that end part of the season through the playoffs and the Super Bowl, AB was a model citizen. Like, he followed the rules. He wasn't a shithead. I mean, he even caught a ball in the Super Bowl. I mean, or he got one of the touchdowns that the Bucs got in the Super Bowl. It was AB, if I remember correctly. So it's like, I mean, he probably won Bruce over with that like we're talking about, that charismatic attitude, and
double with production,
right? And then you see that production is, it's like, oh yeah, we can. And so they're just like, oh, we can, that's just AB. He can be a little out there. But I mean, he has literally burned every bridge he's crossed, because now he shared a thing today. I think it was on his Instagram. It was the Home Alone poster for Lost in New York. Macaulay Culkin's face was replaced with AB's.
Right.
And then the two bad guys, Joe Pesci and whatever the other guy's name is, the one that I look like, their pictures were replaced with Brady and Arians, the villains.
The other
so he has now gone after Tom Brady at this point. That's ultimately what that is. So
the other burglar in Home Alone looks like you, but if you just stretched him out like Gumby, just like
took him, so instead of being stocky, it was just like
They took all of it. It's not even in some points. They just like pulled the arms too far, so they're a little skinnier at one point.
Yeah,
we went a little bit too fast on that one. Yeah, he's a weird looking dude. Anyway, here's my question to you, Tony. What was going on? What was going on behind the scenes with it? Because if there wasn't a bunch of scandalous shit and a bunch of people were like, all right, well, I can see why AB would be pissed off and like why he would, which nobody has said. If that's the case, then we really can genuinely just call this dude a megalomaniac, an ego-driven And that's fine because it's not fine, but it's understandable in the position that he is in the NFL with the money and with everything that society puts into athletes. Like, I get why somebody could end up like that. I'm not saying that it's okay, but I see. But my point is, if there was stuff, and if there was stuff before, why is Tom targeting him 15 times? Why is the coach of the Buccaneers, Tom Brady, what is it? Thomas Edward Brady, Jr.
Patrick, is it Thomas Patrick Edward?
Thomas Patrick Edward Brady Jr. or Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But and he kisses his kids on the lips at a very, very creepy older age.
Like, and fellow players too. There's pictures of him kissing fellow players, bro. Like, let's not forget that.
They're not, but the thing is, like, if Tom Brady kissed me, I'm slipping him tongue. Absolutely, I'm grabbing ass first. If he gets in there, I'm grabbing ass. I mean, it'd be a real weird one, but it would be too long. It'd be
weird
like
for him, but not for me. Like, I'm going full bore, man. I'm gonna be full chub by the time I come out of there. I'm not holding anything back.
But it's on the guys that don't want it to be weird. It's on the guys that don't want it to be weird, because obviously us two would be like, yes. I mean, if you do you want me to go back to your hotel room? And be like, God, no, I'm not gay, Tom. And I'd be like, well, I'm not either, Tom, but you're Tom. So, but no, but just wait. He doesn't peck, love, kiss. I understand that if parents have, or if kids have parents or adults have parents that have, peck, kissed them on the lips. Whatever. I get that.
It is.
Watch one of Tom's, and you're gonna be like, all right.
There's a little too much pressing going on in there. You know what I mean?
It's very liberal.
So
it's a very liberal kiss.
But I mean, like I said, so now he is now taking a shot at Tom Brady. So you have
what was the shot at Tom Brady?
The Home Alone poster, because Brady was the two villains that their faces were replaced with Brady and Arians. So he's saying that they are the villains.
Interesting.
And I mean,
I didn't catch that part. I knew it was Arians, but I didn't catch the Tom was the other one. What the fuck is wrong with him at this point? Like, why? You have one guy in your corner, Tom, who clearly on the surface is in his corner, which is really all that matters if you're even Tom Brady's half friend, right?
Exactly.
I mean, on the surface is all that matters, because you probably don't actually know that guy. Like, I don't know if anybody actually knows that guy. He might be some kind of weird space alien that wakes up and like sheds his skin and just turns into Tom Brady, and we have no idea. And he drives his Tesla to practice, and that's who we think it is. But like, I mean, we don't know who he is, but like he might think that he knows who Tom Brady is. And he's like, oh, well, he's just trying to be like the good guy, give me 15 targets or whatever. I can totally see that. And from his perspective, it's probably true. And
with the targets thing, like in some of the conversation about it, like because from the Bucs side, it seems like really the thing is he was making a big deal about his targets, because he had gotten the 15 targets in the previous game. He'd only gotten 5. Gronk was getting more targets. Well, if you go back and watch that game, the reason Gronk was getting all the targets was because they were only covering him one-on-one. I'm sorry, I'm going to take that matchup 10 times out of 10.
That's all Tom Brady does, dude.
Exactly. He just plays
matchups. That's it. And that's why he's so fucking good, because he can break down the matchups in what? 2.3 seconds, something like that. If you can break down four things are potentially going to happen, and then do those percentages in your head, and then make an actual physical play towards the ball and do it efficiently, it's the hardest thing to do what Tom Brady has done as a quarterback. And I'll just delete everything 2004 and before. Still, the dude is obviously the greatest of all time. So
absolutely. And so that's the thing, is like from a professional standpoint, like, how can you, I know he's going to get signed again. He shouldn't, but he's going to get signed again, because it's that thing of tolerance versus production, but
I'm going to slip the Rock a promo real quick when you're done.
I don't get it, man. I don't get how anybody can keep giving him chances, because it's like, and especially now, like, you're not going to get 1,000 yards out of him, even if they get his ankle perfectly cleaned up and he is 100% come training camp. You're not going to get 700, 800 yards out of him.
Absolutely not. I mean, what is he playing for at this point? Obviously, did he spend all of his money? Because I've seen a lot of his assets, and that dude is liquid. If he thinks that he is in any way like doesn't have money, I think he'll be all right. He's gotten paid a lot of money in his NFL career. I think he's good. At this point, it is all personal. There is no, he's making points. It's personal. Like, and dude, I mean, Randy Moss was not this bad. Randy Moss was on the level of play when I want to play. Like, literally just I'll play when I want to play. And that literally means if you guys treat me correctly in the, the outcome of the season or during the duration of the season, if you treat me correctly, I will play 100%. If you treat me 78%, I will play 68%, and so on. Get the point?
Right.
And like, that is okay because those guys have that power and they earned that power.
Right.
So they earned that power.
There is, well, it's like, I mean, even if you look at other cases of players in the past that were, we'll call it a pain in the ass, like T.O. or me too. Or Ocho Cinco.
Love Ocho Cinco. Love
Chad Johnson. And that's the thing. And all of these guys are in their own right dominant receivers. And there's no other way around it. You can, they're dominant enough that you can say their name and you're instantly thinking about amazing things that they have done. If you're a sports fan and you've been watching football, and but for Antonio Brown at this point, like all of the side stuff outside of the on-field performance has clouded that. And yeah, he may get into the Hall of Fame, but he's not going to be first ballot anymore.
No,
I mean, you'll probably see like the what was that? Who is that they made wait 3? Was it T.O. or Chad Johnson? It was T.O. or Chad Johnson or somebody that they made him. And even though they were like first ballot, their other stuff just the point like, yeah, no, we're going to move you to third.
Did you know that on like cable networks likability surveys, it's based on frowns and smiles now. So your amount of frowns, your 4.5 frowns, that's not good. Like 5, I think 5 is the worst. Right. This is a real thing. It's in some, not in every place, but it's a real thing.
Okay.
And then the demographic, obviously, like, males 18 to 32 were 1.5 smiles for what Antonio Brown did, just because it kind of gave him a laugh. People kind of didn't hate him for it. They were like, he's been doing this for a while, whatever. The biggest majority of Hall of Fame voters are white men between the age of 55 and 72. And they were 4.5 frowns on this one. I'll say they're 4.5 frowns, and they didn't go to 5 because one of them was like, well, I'm not racist, but, well, you know what? He's a proud black man. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that was all the reason why he didn't go to -5 frowns. So yes, they will just be petty and fucking just like him. And I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve it because he did. You did it too, Antonio. You knew what you were doing.
And that's the thing. He made his bed at this point. And that's why it's hard because like mental health is a thing. And I know that I talk a lot about that. We talk about this on this show, on First Generation Dad, my podcast. It'll be coming back in March. There's this thing that you have to take care of your mental health. And it's very clear, like he started to get his screw loose after that Vontaze Burfict hit. Like, I mean, we can all say that what it is. I mean, this is clearly that was the tipping point.
Seven, I have to give you credit. Was it Will or you who said that the other night? Or was it I think we all three hinted at it at some point, and then I never actually had gotten my head around that about the Vontaze Burfict hit, which honestly, was it that dirty? It's football. Sorry. I mean, I don't know if that's like, it was dirty. It was dirty, but that's also football. And that sometimes that happens. Right. But at that level, when it happens, you can fucking die and shit. So like they'll fucking kill you. Like they're ridiculously.
No. And that's the thing is whether, and I'm not even going to comment on whether or not like Vontaze Burfict meant to, basically end his mental stability. Like it's one of those things where that very well could have just been, he was going for him, 2 freight trains collided. That's, 200+ pound dudes that are moving at full speed. Like it's possible, but for me, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't like that he is, I don't like that he has continued to be enabled. And that's the problem. And I think that's the worst part about everything with Antonio Brown, because every team has enabled him with fuckery and tolerated his bullshit. And he thinks he can continue to get away with it. Another team is going to be like, oh yeah, we can get him into our culture and we'll be fine. You really think that Bruce Arians, Robert Kraft, John Gruden, Mike Tomlin, you really think these guys didn't try to control Antonio Brown? He doesn't want to be controlled. He doesn't care.
Right. No, clearly. Clearly he's above the team.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest hit against him is that he actually believes that he is above the team, which in the folklore-ish and the annals of any sports history,
right?
You will find that the team is number one. Obviously, that's the main thing, right? Anything else can happen outside of that, and as long as you keep the team above yourself, you can have yourself way the fuck up there, but just have the team just a little bit more. And Antonio Brown's got the team way the fuck up there, but he's got AB just a little bit more, and just a little bit more, of course, but maybe, of course, yes. Now it's just going like, at first he was like trying to fake it. He was like, oh yeah, team, sure, wins, and then they gave him like $67 million, and he was like, me, probably just a little bit, but team still though. And they gave him like
and that's the thing is like, again, Shannon Sharp was saying it this morning. When he realizes the team needs him instead of him needing the team, his behavior changes.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And that's why I say, and that's why, because like, if you look at, in Pittsburgh,
well, like say that around again, that
though, so if it's where he needs the team, he's not, like he needs them. Like he's not the forefront, the one that they're relying on to get the most yards. He's not the A receiver.
Right.
Then he's not, then he's not going to be pulling any bullshit. He's, he's engaged. He's there, yeah, I'm that charismatic guy. Okay. Whatever the team needs.
Yes.
But if you notice the difference in AB's behavior from before week 7 before, because he got injured in week 7 and he had the COVID thing. That's why he's just coming back he was just back that last couple of weeks.
Right.
His, he was AB. He was fine. He was just kind of an asshole, but it was whatever. Like there wasn't anything bad. Now, he comes back. Chris Godwin's out for the season. They're all injured up, people on and off the COVID list. All of a sudden, Tampa Bay needs AB.
Yeah. And he buckled, and you know what? I don't think it was an individual buckling or an individual. He backed down to the responsibility of that title. Mm-hmm. I think that's just how he is as a person. Tony, I'm gonna admit something to you right now. I know and am a guy who was a great athlete who never wanted to take the last shot, who never wanted to be in at the end of the game. I did not want to take a bottom of the 9th at bat with a runner on third, down, like tied or down 1, like to strike out to lose the game. I thought about the negative side happening way more than I thought about the positive side. Okay. So like, naturally, I think a lot of athletes do that. And I think it's not worth it almost to their psyche or to their mental makeup to do that to themselves. So they will actually just kind of naturally shun away from that. Like, hey, I need a bridge between me and being the guy. Cause this is not what, I'll be the guy, but I'm not trying to get up and like, I'm not trying to get bottom of 9.
And that's the thing is like, there are, and that's why when they look at, certain positions, they need somebody that's going to be the guy. Your starting quarterback needs to be the guy. Your A receiver needs to be the guy. You need to have, one of your DBs or one of your cornerbacks on your defense needs to be the guy. Like that's the thing that these teams needs. But at the same time, like somebody that's playing offensive line, defensive line, like, yeah, you've got to get your pressure, you got to get in there, but they're not looking at you to be the guy every time you're on the field.
Right.
They just want you to do your job.
The only reason, and this is on subject, the only reason why Michael Jordan is considered probably 70-30, 80-20 being the GOAT over LeBron James.
Right. That's
just consensus wise, 80-20.
Yeah.
The only reason why that is because he was the guy. He was the guy every time. They knew who was going to take the last shot. Fucking, if dude ain't back there. Phil Jackson is not out there calling plays with three seconds left in the finals. They just go, no. Oh yeah, it's obviously we're going to run 14 sweep 10 or whatever it is. And it's going to 2-3. That's what's happening. It's just going to do it. And like LeBron James I don't think he ever wanted it. And I don't think that's a bad thing because he's also trying to say like, hey, I can do this still. I don't have to take the shot though. Like, why do you guys always think what if I get a better shot? Like, what if I get a better shot? Because percentages wise, he's just playing percentages at that point. He's going,
and that's the thing. He's, and I think that is one of the stark contrasts to that is, with the Bulls, it was, we're playing to get Jordan to finish it. With LeBron, for the most part, to his credit, he's playing as a team. And it's not just like, if it's him that's going to have the best shot, he'll take it. But why am I going to take that best shot if AD is sitting over there in the post and he's going to be able to get he's going to be able to get a guaranteed shot, and there's no reason I can't get AD the ball, and he doesn't have time to put it in. So why is he going to take the risk when the higher percentage thing is available? He still gets the assist.
And then he gets bagged on when the higher percentages plays works out. He gets bagged on. Right. Because he didn't take the shot, because he didn't force a shot. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, yes, Michael Jordan forced some shots over 6'4" white Craig Eglo. I get it. Yeah, he hit that thing. I get it. But he forced a lot of shots, and he made a lot of shots that he forced. But at the same time, those are just big moments. That's just a string of big moments where Michael Jordan was just unbeatable, right? And he was the guy. He was going to take that shot. So that might be back to AB though. I mean, that's part of the thing, I think. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it is. You're right. It's just when he's in the spotlight, I don't, I'll take the money and the fame and the accolades, but I don't want to like the responsibility of like having to do that.
And that's why I think it definitely comes back to it's not just about mental health with him. I think that there's mental health issues, like that's undeniable, but part of this comes from a culture within these NFL teams where he was enabled. And we know from our past guest, D. Ross,
they get treated.
They do get enabled.
Yeah, absolutely.
It happens. Like, we know for a fact, like, we've heard it straight from the horse's mouth, basically. So why, but as a public, if we keep supporting these things, they're going to keep doing it.
See, Tony, and I'm poking holes in my own being the guy narrative now, only because you said that, because he's on a team with Thomas Patrick Edward Brady Jr.
Right.
He doesn't have to be the guy ever. When did he ever think that he was like, oh, well, I'm the best player on the team and I have to step up and get us wins? Shut the fuck up, baby. He can play without you.
But that's the thing, is it's not, they need him in his position, because Tom Brady's going to be Tom Brady and you need Tom Brady at the helm, but you still, on that receiving side, you still have to have the guy. And in that relationship, there's, in this relationship, they are the guy for that role, for each side of that role. You know what I mean? He's
a direct conduit to Tom Brady at that point. And that because he so heavily, 15 targets, Tom's relying on you. Tom doesn't make, he's going to you, and you're not making plays for him. And he probably went, oh shit, and it went just downhill, just, right down the hill, as we all know, sometimes happens.
Well, and Gronk had even been in Tom's doghouse because of some drops, but Gronk was getting the ball more in the Jets game because of the one-on-one matchup. So you've got this situation here where AB is like, looks like AB was like, and there was also, I don't know if we had talked about this as well, that it came out today. One of the things is that before the game, before the Week 17 game against the Jets, AB was trying to get the Bucks to adjust his contract and guarantee his $2 million in incentive, fully guarantee his $2 million in incentives.
And they said no.
And yeah, of course they did.
And then they go tell him that he's done when he's 5 catches away or whatever he was. Like when I saw it on paper, dude, I was like, everyone was like, "Oh, he's so crazy!" Like walked on the field, and then I saw what the actual issue was, and if that was actually true, I was like, you know what, I wouldn't have played it that way, but I can't blame him for being a little bit pissed off, honestly.
So if they were, had that been true, they were like, no, we're going to intentionally sit you enough that you don't get those incentives. Like that's one thing. I can understand that. He still handled it even incorrectly, even if that was the thing.
Right. From his perspective, it looked bad, and only his perspective it looked bad.
Right. But much. He's definitely being very narcissistic in this because he was going to get those targets. He was going to get those plays. They were trying to get him on the field. Like, you had teammates that were trying to talk to him and like calm him down and get him on the field to get his targets.
Yes.
And so I can't, I don't get it, man.
And it sounded a lot like, and we kind of talked about this, it sounded a lot like he just needed the money at first. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you get that mad unless you actually need that $2 million? Like Antonio Brown, how badly do you need $2 million? Like
apparently really bad now.
I need $2 million real fucking bad, Antonio Brown. I don't think you need it as bad as I do, buddy. I don't think you do. Like, I think you're good. You know what I'm saying?
And I think one of the things that can make this even worse for him is he transitions out of being an athlete. The ideal situation when you're transitioning out of being an athlete, since obviously he has no other marketable skills, would be to get into sports broadcasting. And the name of Antonio Brown on the surface could have some weight, but broadcasting companies aren't going to deal with this shit.
Hey,
you think ESPN's going to put up with his attitude?
Tony, you're on the same link as I was, though, because I was going to make this claim earlier. I said, I'm going to make a claim at Dwayne The Rock Johnson right now. Dwayne The Rock, hey, let me look in the camera. If you're watching, buddy, okay, get Antonio Brown on a motherfucking roster in the XFL. All right, right now, you get him on there right now. That dude he's the poster child post, 15 years? They didn't even, like, he is, come on.
No, yeah, I could see that working. That would be a good way to draw some tickets, but I mean, The Rock's going to have to pay him some money out of his own pocket for that one. Because if these leagues are paying these guys 75 to 100 grand a year, like for the USFL and the XFL, that's about what they're looking at, from what I understand.
At the best,
you really think that's for the best players? Like, you think Antonio Brown's going to be okay with making that in a year?
75% of those dudes still have day jobs. They have second incomes. Yeah. So he doesn't have a second income. He's good. Yeah. But if he's good, he can go play for 100 grand a year. That's what he wants to do. Love of the game, Antonio. Show us that you're out there for the team, buddy. Even though you're not, and it's okay that you're not. Honestly, I don't give a fuck if you are or not. I don't give a fuck if you are or not. But it's detrimental to your team and to your legacy if you're not. I don't care if you are. But if you don't want to be, then I'm not making you do anything. Obviously, you're a free human being. You can do whatever you want. But you're going to ultimately, your job is not going to be maximized. That's it.
No. And that's the thing, is he's causing more harm than good to his legacy at this point. And it's like, I like it, talented athletes, some of the amazing things that he did in Pittsburgh. Like, let's be honest here. He did some amazing things in Pittsburgh. To have that. And then from, up to 2018, and then from 2018 on, and then from 2019 on, it's just been complete and utter garbage.
But he's still, the weird part, and the part that actually is probably bad for him, as he's shown like these certain spurts where he looks like the old Antonio Brown, and they go, oh shit, well, he's still really talented, but we come through some injuries and stuff. It would have been better if he just came out like 18 and just like definitely didn't look the same. Does that make sense? Like he kind of drug himself on because he was still feeling good at some points, but I think and we have said over and over, this is so much mentality. It's so much, it's so much a brain game that it is tough.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, and I will recognize that the amount of talent and work and the mental fortitude that it takes to be a professional athlete is something that I don't understand. But my job and my position is I focus on the human condition, because that's a part that I can't understand. I spent so much time overthinking things. I have in dealing with being with victim of trauma, that I have analyzed so many things on so many different for so many different things. And to when I look at the human side of this, the first thing that we have to acknowledge is the way that he exited is not normal human behavior. It takes a lot to put somebody in that position under a normal circumstance where that is how they react to their situation.
Right.
All jokes aside, that's just the truth. A normal person, even if they hate their job, they're just going to quit and get out because they don't want to deal with the bullshit.
They don't light fireworks in the parking lot.
Exactly.
By their Honda Civic. They just walk out and leave, and they're pissed. And that's what happens. And then they go talk to their friends, their family, and they get back their track on life together. And that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if it happens every fucking time you get a job that you literally just walk out of it in like a blurrish anger, you probably need to find one of those things called a mirror and look into it, because there's obviously maybe an issue with you as an employee, and maybe not every one of your employers.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. And that's the thing is you're now at a point, like, all of these guys are like, his fellow players are like, dude, you need to calm down. You're not in the right. That's what I look for. I if somebody were to come to me tomorrow and be like, look, Bruce Arians is an asshole, I'd be like, okay, I believe that.
Right.
You kind of have to be as an NFL coach. Like, let's be honest here.
Right.
But he also does a good job of establishing relationships with his players and that way he can relate to them in a way that matters to them. He's not afraid to yell at his players, but that's because he takes the time to earn the right to kind of raise his voice.
Right. You would love to think that he does that because he genuinely cares about his, and I'm not going to call his employees. They're his players, but they're kind of employees if you put it in some weird,
I mean, subordinates. Like, yeah, I mean, he's their manager basically.
Right. He's the GM, and
right.
And if he makes legitimate efforts, then that obviously, and you've had general managers like that before. We all have had a boss like that before, where we're like, oh, this guy legitimately cares about me, and then like, and then later you're like, maybe he was using it for his own, but at the same time, that's part of it. That you're going into the deal with that already.
He tries to relate to them as humans. And I think that's an important piece, because you see some coaches that really don't. Belichick does not do that. Belichick is a very transactional coach. And I mean, so there's definitely a stark contrast there between those two styles, right? But Antonio Brown has continually, in multiple different situations, burnt the bridge, not just set it on fire, but fucking duct taped a whole bunch of dynamite to it, lit the fuse, and watched it blow up laughing.
Right. And then threw a flamethrower at it. And then he ran off without a shirt with the flamethrower.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the fuck just happened?
And then, the blaming the organization starts. It's a pattern. And then he takes shots at the organization. John Gruden, Robert Kraft, Belichick, and now Arians, Brady.
He has a gigantic problem with authority, And honestly, I feel so much empathy for Antonio Brown during this entire thing, because, dude, I'm exactly like that. Professionally, that's exactly like, I often think that the things that I do somehow overrule, like, oh, I do really well there. Like, that doesn't overrule the fact that I can't just do whatever the fuck I want, though, either. Do you know what I'm saying? That's right. Not, we got to find a happy median here, because there's been several jobs that I've had, just like Antonio Brown, where I just lose it at the end because I feel like it's just built up, them against me, and I'm versus the man. And it's this construct, this fucking, it's archaic is what it is. It's just it's in all of our DNAs, and here's the thing. It's like, and I've done that same thing. Like, you get so ingrained in a job, and you've been doing it for so long that you come to a point where you really do realize that you know everything that there is to know about that job. Right.
And as long as Antonio Brown has been playing wide receiver and the talent that he has gotten to work with along the way, you can't tell me that guy doesn't know what he's doing. You can't. And so you get to this point where you're so ingrained in a job. And like I said, earlier, when it came to where they needed him, that's when the switch flipped.
Right.
Well, when you get to that point where you've been ingrained in that job song, you know everything, you start to feel, oh, they need me because I know everything there is to know about this job. I have the real experience, the most real experience.
Right.
And then, but that's the tipping point.
It is.
You tipped it yourself.
I used to have a regional manager when I managed restaurants that used to say, I wish I could have an employee from 5 months to a year and a half. And then then that's into contract, because they're the best between 5 months, about 5 months when they learn everything about the job, and they can at least do it,
manage day to day.
Yes. They can do it menially. They can do it. They're average at it to about a year and a half where they're at the peak of their performance. They still enjoy the job for the most part. Obviously these timelines are generalized, but year and a half, you still enjoy the job and you're doing a great job because you know everything about the job. That is when you're at your peak. Just like you said, that's the peak. Mm-hmm. The peak for Antonio Brown was about 2017, 16, something like that. And now we're going down the backside of it. And everything that is happening is just snowballing into a worse and worse situation. And if he doesn't reset it himself, these fucking NFL owners don't give a fuck about him. Clearly don't give a fuck about him. Some of the guys he played with, I'm sure are his friends and they give a fuck about him. But like these owners, they're going to hire him and be his GM. Don't give a fuck about his fucking problems. So if he doesn't get with himself and go, do I want to play in the NFL again? That's what's going to happen. You're going to have a come to God moment.
And that's he's got to get humbled. There's no other there's no other alternative, because the NFL is very much a team sport. And if you don't, and if you don't stick with that, eventually you're going to fail. There's no other way around it. You can't sit there and just think that it's just me that's going to win this football game.
Right.
There's 22 guys on that field for a reason.
Right. And
so,
and in that locker room, it kind of comes down to it's like it's a manifestation of control for Antonio Brown. He wants control of the situation, but he knows that other people control him. So as long as the control is kind of, he gets to do whatever he wants, and like you don't actually control me because I'm fucking good, he's fine. Just like we said earlier. But when it gets to the point where, oh shit, they still control me, and like they can just kind of do whatever they want because I'm not playing at that level anymore.
Right.
He loses control.
Right.
Of the people trying to control him.
Yeah.
And we have a paradox.
All right. So we're going to be taking a break because we were supposed to take about 30 minutes ago. And then we're going to dive into the Aaron Rodgers MVP conversation. So before we wrap before we do that, any final thoughts on the AB situation?
Man, I honestly, I don't know the guy personally. You or him, we're probably not going to be hanging out, just on regular days. We're probably pretty different people. I'm sure he's not a fucking terrible guy. He obviously has some serious God complex issues, which are understandable within the line of work that he is in. And I think that he's probably going to get natural causes retirement, natural causes of the job that he has. And he's going right to the XFL on the Rock, bud. It's if you smell. Yeah. Just that's where he's going.
All right. I will be. All right. So we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to get into the Aaron Rodgers thing. Stick with us.
He's going to AEW.
All right. So that first commercial was for the Pinfall podcast, which airs Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Pinfall Network. That is hosted by Will and Josh, going into all things wrestling. Definitely make sure to check that out. The second commercial was for Double XP, which airs on Wednesdays at 8 Eastern, right here on Pinfall. That is two sisters talking about gaming stuff, Kay and Pun, two of my favorite people when it comes to the pinfall stuff. And a lot of good conversation on gaming and stuff like that. And then big thank you to our sponsors, Gamer World. Use the code XP on their website for 10% off. And of course, also thank you to our other supporter, Raise Energy and repsports.com. Use the code GGN10 or Pinfall for discounts on the website. So let me bring Dan back in here. All right, Dan. So, writer out of Chicago, Bears writer, one of the Writers Association MVP voters, said that he could not vote for Aaron Rodgers for MVP this year because of his, because he's it feels like he's a bad guy. Basically, I'll paraphrase it like that. So, and then also is in response, Aaron Rodgers today called the guy a bum. So my question to you would be, first, in this situation, do you think that Aaron Rodgers is the front runner for MVP right now?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
A-Rod will win a second consecutive MVP award. It's a lot about how comfortable he is, because he just gets to play his games. He owns Green Bay. All he does is walk around there and people scream, "Stay here, Aaron." And it just makes his big old ego, that big, thick, just hairy rocker looking ego, just get inflate. And that's all it is. And he loves it. Also, the thing that I really I love so much about this fucking pretentious journalist, like, only good people should be voted NFL's MVP. I'm sorry, are they doctors? Are they fucking what are we talking about here? Are they Peace Corps officer? We're not. Are they teachers? Like, yes, those professions, kindness is a main part of it. Do you know what kindness is the opposite of in the NFL? It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to be a kind person. I'm not saying that those guys are bad dudes, but during the game, it's not actually okay. Do you know who won the NFL MVP in 1973, Tony? The Juice, O.J. Simpson won.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So the voting, has it changed? You guys knew who OJ. I bet that same dude 40 years ago was up there just like, "Oh yes, OJ, good." You're like, shut the fuck up, dude. You don't know that guy personally. Do you think he hangs out with Aaron Rodgers all the time? Just knows him.
Never met him. That's the thing, is like, and that was where, because like he's saying he's a bad dude. Said that a lot of people have bad stories about Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers is a generational talent. There's no other way to look at it. And the way, and he's not just a generational talent. He's a generational talent that followed a generational talent.
Yes.
In a city where football is their religion. The Packers are the city of Green Bay's religion. That's the Packers dictate everything in that city.
Right. And so, cheese.
And cheese. Right.
Cows,
right.
And cows and Aaron Rodgers, baby.
They're so passionate about their football because they can't poop.
They just never. It's just a blur of Lambo and fucking constipation in Green Bay. It's just and torn down cheese curd factories.
Torn down cheese curd factories.
That's Green Bay. I love you. I've never been there. But I don't really
either.
But
that's the thing. And so we're also talking about a guy that has, as we've all learned, cut out his entire family. Like, you can't, I mean, Of course, people are going to talk because Aaron Rodgers does what he wants to do. But we have to be honest and look at this man's production and go, well, okay.
He's an embodiment of the American dream, a version of the American dream. Aaron Rodgers is the embodiment of it. And that really rubs people the wrong way when we're living in America and we have a dream. That's literally like, come on, man. Just because he's doing it, don't hate the player, Tony. In the famous words of I believe it was who was it? Plato. I think Plato said, don't hate the player, don't hate the game. I think that was
don't hate the player, hate the game.
15-12. Don't hate if you player, hate if you game. But I don't fucking even know if that's the right time period.
I mean, close enough. No,
don't listen to this. Anybody.
You're an athlete, not a mathlete.
Calm down, I said math.
It's one of those situations where, like, and especially for him, like for this Bears writer to be like, oh, he's just a bad guy. If you have a falling out friendship with him, then you saying that he's a bad guy is going to make a difference to me. I'll pay attention to that.
Right.
Never, but even in the guy's own statement, he said he's never met him.
Yes. And you can't count the brother. The brother turned a bunch of people. His brother, his younger brother, just said he was a dick. Said he was a dick, and this and that. This big interview because he wanted his 10 minutes of fame because his brother has 40,000 minutes of fame.
Right.
So he just wanted his 10 to just talk about his brother, to shit on his brother for his 10 minutes of fame, so he could go fucking nuke his dinner and not ever say anything again.
Right.
That shit. Yeah. But and then you blame him for kicking. Like, we don't know what happened in that family situation. Is he a pretentious prick? Probably. I mean, in real life, probably.
Even if you look at the way he carries himself when he's talking to the media, or when he's on Pat McAfee, like, you can tell, like, he's just a confident asshole. That's exactly what he is. Those are a dime a dozen in the workplace. Like, let's be honest here.
Right.
So
right.
The MVP and also the MVP is not about off the field conduct. The MVP is for the motherfucker who delivers on the field.
Right.
And guess what? The top two people on that right now are Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that Joe, like, don't get me wrong, I love what Joe Burrow's done so far this season. I love this kid. I've been a big fan from him from the beginning. But you can't tell me that the results that Joe Burrow put up this year and the performance that he put up with are going to be better than Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Like, I think it's, like I said, I like and respect Joe Burrow. And if by something, because all of these press guys were actually mad at Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow got the MVP, I wouldn't be mad for Joe Burrow. I would be legitimately mad for Aaron Rodgers because it was a political decision.
So, stat line, he's not going to play in week 18. Okay. He won't.
Aaron,
he won't
is
play.
it?
No, no, I mean, they clinched home field already. There's really no reason.
Yeah, they've already clinched the number one seed. So
unless they really, really want a particular matchup, which doesn't seem like a real confident thing to be like, oh, I don't want to play that team, so let's play Aaron Rodgers and, something bad happens. That's ridiculous. He's not going to play in week 18, so he's done. His stats for this year, completed 352 passes out of 500, 68.6% of his passes for 3,977 yards, 35 TDs, and 4 interceptions. So 111 quarterback rating, tops in the league. Turnovers, interceptions, tops in the league. Goes what? 14-2, 14-3.
I think they're 14-3.
They're 13-3, I think, but yeah. So that's money. Unless the guy throws 50, unless you have a Patrick Mahomes 2018 season, that's MVP top 3 all day long.
It is. And that's the thing is it's like you can't if you want to be pissy because you didn't like that you don't like that Aaron Rodgers intentionally misled the media on his vaccination status. If you want to be a fucking diaper baby about that, because let's be honest, it's not anybody else's fucking business.
It's really not.
It is legitimately not.
Did mislead literally just mean he
knew exactly what he was doing because the words he said
Right.
was immunized, and people assumed that meant vaccinated. No, he went through alternative therapy treatments to where he should be, he should have a strong enough immune protection against COVID to where he doesn't have a high risk of getting a disease, or it's at or around what the vaccine would do, allegedly. Okay. So he knew what his word choice was. The media, of course, being a bunch of assumptive fuckheads, because that's what they do, took that and ran with it and treated it like he was vaccinated.
Right.
Of course he wasn't. But again, that's not any of our fucking business.
It's really not. He exercised his right to omit truth. You always don't have to say yes or no. You can just go, like you're not ever like, if people are ever think they're forced, like if a stranger walks up to you and asks you a question, you have absolutely zero like obligation to answer that question in reality. Exactly. Right? Most people are just polite and they'll just do it.
And that's the thing is he knew exactly what he was doing. And when the whole thing came out, my issue was that he was allowed to skirt COVID protocols, that his peers that were not the other peers that were not vaccinated didn't have to follow. Again, what we talked about with AB, tolerance, production.
Like quite literally, Tony, the most valuable player.
Exactly.
Gets incentives. Holy shit. Has that not happened in every profession and every major human hierarchy in the history of fucking human beings or history of animals at all? Like, you know what I'm saying? The best ones get.
Exactly. We've all worked with an asshole who they were an asshole, but the only reason they kept their job was because when it came right down to it, there wasn't anybody that was better at that job in that position than them.
What's that part on Big Lebowski where he's like, am I wrong? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, am I wrong? He's like, well, no, but he's like, you're just an asshole. He's like, you're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole. And that's basically what it is. Like, yeah, you're not wrong, and you're doing a good job. You're just an asshole.
And that's the thing is we can't sit here and act like all of these players are going to be perfect every step of the way, that they're going to always go with public opinion. When it comes to MVP, production on the field is what matters. You want to talk about stuff on the field and the other thing? Okay. Let's talk Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Clearly he's not up for that.
No.
So what's the deal?
And literally you said like we cannot expect any athlete to be at that level of like what would be considered social winning, like winning socially all the time. Like you're morally a high standard for your being at that level. Almost never happens. I'm gonna mention LeBron James again because I think he's the only one literally that has actually ever done that. There's not one major scar on his record. Like there's no Colorado hotel with Kobe. There's no gambling killed my dad with MJ. There's no juicing Barry Bonds. There's no, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody had a thing. Everybody had a thing. And John Elway's an asshole.
Of course John Elway's an
asshole. The list goes on and on of how, but yeah, nobody can do it is basically what I'm trying to say. Like nobody can say it that.
And that's the thing is we have to move away from this expectation that athletes have to be perfect and do everything that we want at all times. They are their own person. They are human. They're allowed to be themselves. There's no harm. There's no harm in that.
And I would love to see somebody go to your job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car and fucking break your performance down every day and then go talk about it to millions of people on TV and just have no actual reference of what you're feeling or anything, but just speculate on it for a while. Just say some ridiculous shit so people listen to their show. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I'd be an asshole about it too. I'd be like, fuck you, dude. You know, the Baker Mayfield in the Colin Cowherd interview that he did. I don't know if you saw that after Cowherd had just bagged on him for a long time. I loved Baker's demeanor, the whole interview. He's like, Colin, did you ever even really play sports, man? Like, he's totally serious. Like, he's like, Colin, you didn't ever play sports, did you? He's like, no, I played quarterback in high school. He's like, I was terrible. And he was like, okay, well, there's this thing in sports. And he was just like being very simple about it. He's like, there's this thing when you play sports with teammates on a high level. And like, I loved it, dude. I was like, yeah, he's getting exactly what you're, yeah.
Like, I like Baker. He's going to end up he's going to be somewhere else next year. I don't think he stays in Cleveland, but I think that somebody's going to find a good fit for Baker. And I think we're going to see some decent results out of him. I don't think he's going to be everything that they hyped him up to be as the number 1 draft pick. But let's be honest. 99% of players that are in that number 1 draft pick slot are not perfect. And they have struggles.
Most of them aren't.
Name me a Heisman Trophy winner that's starting that one quarterback Heisman Trophy winner that's starting in the NFL right now.
Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
I forgot he won the Heisman. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Lamar Jackson. You
did
want
he
to
win
keep
the
going?
Heisman?
Yeah. You want to keep going?
Okay, fair enough. All right. So
no,
all right. But
I think that might be the only 3 though.
I would say it's not as common of a thing as people would like to pretend it is. And
Mac Jones.
He did.
No. Oh, sorry. His fucking wide receiver won it. They were 1-2. They finished first and second.
I was to say Smith. It was Smith. Yeah.
I want to say Donovan. It's not right.
Devontae Smith.
Devontae. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, it was Devontae Smith. But that's the thing is like there's so many expectations on these players that are not just flat out not realistic.
Right.
Like let's be honest here. Like just flat out not realistic.
I kind of want to pick on Colin Cowherd right now. And I'm gonna do like Cowherd if you're listening, which he's not. Cowherd makes the mistake a lot. I love Colin Cowherd, dude. I love listening to him. He has great metaphors. People love his metaphors. He makes great metaphors, and
he's a very vivid speaker.
They make a whole lot of sense. Good speaker. Very he's very articulate. Excuse me. But he often forgets because he is at such a high level in his profession that his job is as hard as the high levels of what these guys are dealing with in their profession. Like
being in the high level of any profession is hard.
Right. But there's different levels of difficulty at that level. And I think that just because Colin is at the press, he's at the pinnacle of his particular profession, that he thinks that he can somehow, just openly criticize. And if that's what he has to do, that's why he's at the pinnacle of his career, though, too. You know what I'm saying? That's why the pinnacle of his profession. So it's a double, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
The thing that I struggle with Cowherd, and there is, I can understand, new information, opinions changing. Okay. That just happens over time. That's natural. That's human. We should all be willing to accept new information and allow our opinions to evolve. That's just reasonable, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yesterday on Colin Cowherd's show on the Herd, he spent a few minutes talking about how Aaron Rodgers is a clear MVP. Today, on the Herd, he spent about 5 to 10 minutes talking about how Joe Burrow is the clear MVP.
Yes. He changes. He thinks about it constantly. Like they have the commercials with him where he'll like walk in to pick up his dry cleaning and he'll just start having a sports conversation with like the random guy in front of him. You know what I'm talking about? Like they make those jokes like in those commercials because that's how he really is. Like he is constantly thinking sports all the time. Like it's all he thinks about. So those opinion changes are going to happen, but you can't. Yeah, you can't just like step back and then.
And that's the thing. In a day.
Yeah. Dude,
that's where I get lost. It's not like Burrow played last night. No, yesterday was Wednesday.
If anybody
that's what
enjoys
I don't get it.
Cowherd, if anybody enjoys Cowherd, I love Cowherd show. If
I
anybody
I,
enjoys
I,
Cowherd
I watch it when I can.
and hasn't seen the Bill Burr when Bill Burr goes on as a guest,
I like watching it when that's
you should
I
absolutely
think
watch those. It'll get everyone. It'll get every one of your little because with Cowherds you have this weird thing like where he feels like he's better than you, but it's not, but you just don't even care. You're like, yeah, you know what? You're really good at your job. Like I don't even care that you might feel a little bit superior. Burr just literally cuts all of that stuff down the whole time. Like he's like you like what do you even talk about up here? He's like you just sit up here and talk about stuff that you don't even know about, and like just is very honest with him. And Coward's laughing about it, and Burr's just like I'm being completely serious right now.
and I think that's one of the reasons why, as much as I kind of go back and forth on Cowherd, like I know that he's very well spoken and he does know a lot about what he's talking about. In some instances, there are certain things that he's pretty good at breaking down, but when it comes to Cowherd, like it's really frustrating for me because as much as he is well spoken, like you can almost kind of hear that little edge.
Yeah, it is.
That little edge.
It's a cunty disposition. He has a very like
I'll go with that.
off the cuff, like very like cunty disposition as far as like just he's just gonna be like, well, yeah, I mean, you guys can debate about this all you want, but this is the truth. Is what you feel like sometimes he is just blathering into a camera. And
I feel like Cowherd, I almost wonder if Cowherd might not be better if he actually had somebody to debate with and it was more the Skip and Shannon format, because I think that in that sports talk show genre,
right,
similar to us, like if it was just you or I sitting here just talking about shit, like it kind of gets hard. And like, don't get me wrong, Joy, I know he's got Joy there, and she definitely, if she gets to chime in, she knows she's got some good insights.
They have been throwing Joy a lot more into it, and she's a legitimate analyst. Like she knows
analyst. What she's talking about.
She gets so much shit for her big titties, for real. She gets so much shit for her fucking hair and always looking great. Why would you? The dudes all do that shit too, but now Joy's not a real journalist because she shows her titties on a little bit of cleavage on TV, and it's like, oh, she's not a real journalist. The fuck are you talking about? It's the same. The thing.
I
Get
love
the fuck
Joy.
Out of here.
That's the thing is like, it's a guy sports show. Like, can we stop taking women? Can we stop acting like we can't take women seriously because they're showing their tits? They're showing their tits to get our attention. Just listen, and the tits will stay.
Right, dude. I actually, when I was younger, I actually would discount. I would discount, but there wasn't a whole lot of them, right? So every time I heard one, I was like, "This, she doesn't know what she's talking about. This is men's sports, whatever, right?" And then I started like. I genuinely enjoy it now because it is a different perspective naturally. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if the person is different or not. It's a different perspective naturally as a whole. And like, that's a good thing to have.
There is this, I've come to realize like there's a huge benefit to having women in broadcasting in sports because they are analytical just like we are as men, but they analyze differently than we do. Right. And I think, it gives a different perspective. Like I'm going to be very interested to see where Rachel Nichols lands now that she's free of ESPN, because I understand that some of her comments were inappropriate. She was a little frustrated at the situation, and but she also does know what she's doing. And and then even in that situation, it wasn't that she didn't want to work with Maria Taylor. She was just voicing that she thought it was messed up because she felt Maria Taylor was getting a position because of her race and not because of her qualifications.
She was not calling out Maria Taylor at all. She was calling out ESPN and saying, if you guys need all this diversity, I shouldn't lose my job because you guys need diversity because I'm white, because then that turns the tables. And then that's, and I understand how that's frustrating because when you're at that level, but don't just start calling on everything though. You can't call it on everything. Right. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah. But I'm going to be very interested to see where she goes because she has a really good perspective on basketball. I legitimately, when she's involved in the discussion, like she has some very valid points. And so, or like with Joy on Cowherd or Jenny Taft on Skip and Shannon. When Jenny actually gets the chance to talk, I mean,
right.
So I just
and I feel like like shout out to like Yeager and Josh Riggs that just we knew back in St. Joe. We'd have sports conversations like in the bar, right? I feel like Rachel Nichols, like we could just be one-on-one, or it would just be all three of us, and we could have legitimate like conversations like that, and people having open minds and people actually trying to figure out the actual answers to things instead of just having a stranglehold on your own opinion. Let loose of it a little bit, and that's what makes a good debate. That's what makes a good, like, dude, they used to think that we were going to get fucking kicked out of the bar. Like the bartenders used to have to like come over and be like, "Are you guys okay?" And we're like, "Yeah, dude, we're like best friends. We're just talking sports. We get very, very passionate about sports."
And
like, I don't think you guys understand.
And it's like, even like Erin Andrews and Rachel Nichols, both of them, I'll use them as prime examples. They're not afraid to be wrong. And but so when you look at that, that's one of the reasons why why sports fans respond well to them. But when you look at the male broadcasters, neither are they.
No, they're not. Yeah.
You think Stephen A doesn't give a fuck when he's wrong?
Dude,
Shannon Coward, they don't care.
Colin Coward has a segment on his show called What Colin Got Right, What Colin Got Wrong, where he literally goes back and he calls himself out for shit that he fucked up on. Like every week he's like, yeah, I fucked up. I didn't know anything about it. Like, and then Dan Le Batard used to just bag on him in the Dan Le Batard show every day because he would do his Blazing 5 picks and his percentages were so all over the board. Like one day he would go 4-1 one week, and then like 3 weeks in a row he'd go 0-5. And he was like, can we just establish that? He's like, I know Colin Coward knows a lot about the NFL. Can we just establish that the spreads are so good from Vegas that this is just a crapshoot? This is 50-50, man. Like nobody knows.
And they really are, really. I mean,
nobody knows. Like it wouldn't be gambling if it wasn't.
Exactly. But like, but these guys, like, they have that mentality. They can approach it from that, but they have earned that credibility. And when we circle back to what we were talking about with Aaron Rodgers, like this beat writer for the Bears, what credibility does he have to be like, oh yeah, Aaron's a bad guy, he's not getting my vote for MVP?
That quote seemed like that journalist from Chicago was just like having a scotch, like his third or fourth scotch at the bar, and some guy just like came up and like somebody just overheard him being like, man, that fucking dude, I'm not
he's
voting
just a
for
bad
him.
guy.
He's like, hey, bartender, 3 more olives, but also not voting for that guy because he's not a very good dude. It's like, what the fuck are we talking about right now, man? Like, we're not talking about this. Isn't Mother of the Year award. This is not the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. This is just who did the best.
This is MVP, most valuable player.
You guys gave the MVP to Michael Jordan 6 times. Michael Jordan. Just figure out some underlying. I'm not saying Michael Jordan is a monster, but I am saying that he has some character flaws that you guys might want to look into. If you're going to say that now nobody with any kind of moral ambiguity can win an MVP, really? So next year it's going to be fucking Giannis. Actually, you know what? Giannis just wins the NBA MVP the rest of his career because there's not one guy who's.
Well, you can't have Jokic because he's actually fighting back now, so it's got to be Giannis.
Yeah. And he'll be like, I'm just so glad to be an American. Everybody will be like, yes, I love this guy. And that's it for 10, 11 straight years now. That's what's going to happen if we're going to do that.
We've got to be realistic standards. These guys are not Boy Scouts. We can't hold them to perfect standards. They're going to mess up. And when it comes to professional awards for for these sports, let's keep it to what's on the field for the awards that are on the field. And then
Absolutely.
When it comes to the Boy Scout Awards, we can talk about the Boy Scout Awards. And Aaron Rodgers isn't going to get the Boy Scout Award. I don't care.
And can we just point out the huge hypocrisy on the Boy Scout Award?
Yeah.
So you guys, Tom Brady and LeBron James, probably the 2 most prominent ones who have never, their status in their communities, let alone in the world, are flawless at this point. Like there's no, like, you can say they're weird. We talk about their, like, the worst thing we have on Tom Brady over this 20 years of him winning and all this stuff. The worst thing is that he
kisses people on the mouth
just a little bit too long, just a little weird, little bit too long, probably just a character flaw. He doesn't really, it's not even a flaw. He just does it. It's just a weird thing. Right.
Right.
That's the most we can get on him. And and people fucking down him for it. Now
But,
that's
you know-
a problem that he doesn't have any fucking issues on his record. You know what I'm saying? Like, now it's a problem that he doesn't do anything wrong. When you strive that hard to not do anything wrong, when you don't do anything wrong for that long, no, well, why is he doing anything wrong? Is he weird? Like, why does he do stuff wrong? Like, mistakes are part of a person's character development in your own mind, especially in sports, right?
Yeah.
So
because I mean, that's you get better on the field because of on the field mistakes. You get better in the regular life because of mistakes you make in your regular life. We all make mistakes every day.
Right.
We've all done stupid stuff in relationships that we weren't proud of, picked fights that we didn't need to, ended relationships for stupid reasons.
Right.
You know, we've all, got bills that we didn't pay. It happens.
Yes.
Let's quit acting like these guys are supposed to be the perfect model citizens and just hold them to the normal level of accountability that we would any other person.
Right. And it's also about you said that we all come back from these things. Like I don't think you said come back, but you said we all, have learned from these things. Well, some of us haven't, Tony, and some of us don't learn from these things. Honestly, like I have done.
AB clearly hasn't.
I have done a majority. I have done a majority not learning from my mistakes, then learning from them. Some of them I have learned from, sure, and I'm trying to improve that. But and I guess that's all you can really do, right?
Right.
So, but like most people haven't just bounced back after a fucking job loss, or like bounced back after their girlfriend dumps them because they, went to a stag night or something. I don't know what the fuck happens in the world, but you know what I mean. I don't know what the fuck you people are doing out there.
And that's the thing. And different things impact people in different ways. When it comes to like with AB, we talk about the Vontaze Burfict injury. And the fact that hit, well, it was a little dirty happens all the time in the NFL. The truth of the matter is no two brain injuries are alike because no two brains are alike. And so when we look at that fact, everything else trickles down. And I'm not saying that I'm calling Aaron Rodgers person of the year and calling time and saying, hey, you need to rethink your choice for person of the year. But he certainly has earned a back-to-back MVP.
Right. And I think just like finishing on Antonio Brown, man, it's between this for me. Did the hit, because we can all agree, I think, and I think there's a really good point that we brought, and I didn't even bring it up. Somebody else brought it up. I hadn't really fully brought it to fruition until I thought, and I think about it all the time now. I'm like, that hit is a turning point. And here's the two ways that he could have went with it. Did he take that hit and a couple days later have some realization and go, oh shit, like I could lose all my money if I continue to take hits like that? Or what was the reasoning behind why he declined so quickly? Was it because he has an ongoing mental, because dude, he was like that before though. He was the crazy, the charismatic before that. So I have to lean towards the fact that when he took that hit, he went, oh shit, this is not guaranteed money. If he takes me out for the rest of my career at that point, I'm looking a lot like Ryan Shazier in Pittsburgh. Whole world ahead of him, done.
Yep.
Like he's a motivational speaker now. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Good for Ryan Shazier. He's a fucking hero. For real.
Yeah,
that guy walks, and he broke his back in like 8 places. That guy walks now.
He's a hell of a fighter. But
dude, obviously, yeah.
You can't, and that's the thing and that's why I come back to Antonio Brown on that, and I hold him accountable for this, because I'm not going to say that the Bucs are a perfect organization, or that Bruce Arians is not sometimes one of those guys that goes, no, you need to play through this.
Right.
I'm not going to say those things don't happen, but I think that Antonio Brown exacerbated this situation and made it worse for himself every step of the way.
Yes. Yeah. You can do it the correct way, Tony, and just be Anthony Davis and just be out there like, I ain't getting hurt because my money ain't worth it.
I would respect him more if that was it. Because honestly, you give me $10 million a year, I'm not gonna want to take a bunch of hits. I'm gonna want to be able to enjoy that $10 million a year.
And it's not guaranteed all the time. So like they
it's
know
not
it's
guaranteed.
Not. Their window's short. Their window is short. So like I think it's very natural at that level, because of that money and of that status to back off of your primal instinct to win 100% of the time. And that's why That's why Jordan is such a freaking hero. And I am saying that Michael Jordan is a hero is because he did not ever back off that. He wanted to win no fucking matter what. He didn't care if he lost all of his money. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he didn't. But
yeah, and that's the thing is like and that's a mentality thing.
What they would call the Mamba mentality.
The Mamba mentality. You know, Kobe was up at 5 a.m. training.
Yeah.
He was shooting. He was after everybody left, shooting free throws, shooting threes, doing drills, getting ball handling drills, getting better at that, getting better at his crossover, working on his jump shot. That's what Kobe did. He wanted to be a professional basketball player. He eat, breathed, and slept basketball. Antonio Brown wants to be rich.
Antonio Brown eats, sleeps, and breathes in a $20 million mansion. In a $20 million mansion, that's where he eats, sleeps, and breathes. He doesn't eat, sleep, and breathe. Mm-hmm. Football brought him that, and that's now more important to him. And I'm not judging him for it because I'm not going to say, because I've never been in that situation before.
Honestly, you hand me $20 million, I'm probably going to chill the fuck out too.
Yep. I might, dude,
come on.
Hey, if I'm 17-year-old LeBron and I sign $100 million Nike contract, I might just step out. Like right then, I might just be like, so this is good, right? And they're like, yeah, we're going to give you $100 million no matter what. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go sit at my house and play Xbox for like the next 30 years. Thank you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously not to that point, but like,
no. And Sims, you're right. Like,
absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing is the Mamba mentality is about winning and working with your team. If you look at the way Antonio Brown was, he was a team guy. If you look at LeBron is a team guy. You can argue with me all you want about LeBron building teams. I don't give a shit about that. That's a different discussion that I think you're stupid anyway. But right. Because LeBron wants to build a winning team. And he doesn't want the GMs because he's, in LeBron's mind, he's a better GM on the court because he sees what these guys are doing. He knows who's actually going to make a difference. A GM is looking at stats and game film. I'll say it like this. If I'm sitting in a room and I'm sitting with Brett Veach and Peyton Manning, and Brett Veach says that he's not sure about a guy, and Peyton Manning says that guy's going to be good in his position, I'm going to listen to Peyton Manning.
Right.
It's not that I don't trust Brett Veach. Obviously, he's done amazing things for the Chiefs, and he's got a great eye. But Veach isn't perfect. But I guarantee you that Peyton Manning is seeing something. He is seeing that information differently than how Brett Veach interprets it.
Right. And I love Sim's comment. Okay. And I'm agreeing with it off the top. But I don't think that we can cop out like that and just say that this is all about Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown supports a large group of people who are his family and his friends at this point.
His entourage, right?
He has, yes, the proverbial entourage. I don't know if this is just about Antonio Brown, or I don't know if this is particularly where Antonio Brown's where his priorities are placed. Does that make sense?
Football is not his priority. Money is his priority.
Doesn't love football. He doesn't love football.
He does not. It's just like we've talked about that stuff, like we've been talking with D. Ross. Like it goes back to the mentality thing.
Yes. You have to the number one step to getting the NFL is not even to play Pee-wee football. It's when you play Pee-wee football and you continue to play that sport for a long enough time, the grueling and draining and ridiculous aspect of it, if you still want to do it after all of that, you love the game, and that's the first step. That's the first step to actually becoming anything more in any sport is if you have to love doing it, because you won't do it if you don't love it.
And that's the thing. Any sport, anything professional like that, whether it's professional, comedy, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, being a musician, like being a professional musician, touring musician, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift didn't love music. She would not be able to do what she's doing right now.
Right.
And
the weird thing is, Tony, though, there's a lot of people, like I would say that you and me are, where we love a lot of different things as far as interests and knowledge, gaining knowledge about different things. And like we have a broad horizon of things that we, that we research, that we watch, that we kind of put ourselves into, right? And this is just them doing it in one thing, but they happen to be just very particularly good at applying that thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So like we can research all we want and we can have our opinions on these things, but we're not actually putting. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Like we're not actually putting our we're not actually applying anything to it. Exactly. So that's kind of you have to love it. Eat, breathe, and sleep. That's all you do all day long. Like I don't do that. I don't do one thing all day long. I do lots and lots of different things, lots of different interests and music and jobs and whatever. It's a lot of different things that I'm interested in. As
that
are you.
3 hours a week, that 3 hours a week that we see a football player, or 2 hours a night that we see a basketball player, or 4 hours a night that we see a baseball player. We see that, but there's still 60 hours a week of training and recovery, right, and watching game film and strategy and all right, of these different things that go into being a professional athlete that we don't see right on the front side.
Right.
And
so put it in the comedy aspect. Tony, that would literally just be like, you just right now, you don't have a day job anymore. You're going straight to being a professional comedian, and you're going to do 65 hours a week. That's all you're doing. And nobody sees you. Nobody pays you for it. You work your own hours, but you better fucking work them because you're going to need them. And then you get 15 minutes at the end of that to tell everybody else what you just did during the week. And imagine what that can do if that comes off negatively. And imagine what it can do if it comes off in a really positive way. Because you know what I'm saying? You can start getting those real big ups and downs on it.
With people with comedy, in a different comparison of this. So like with a comedian, when a comedian starts out, like they're going to a lot of open mics and book shows at bars if they're lucky enough to get booked, and going to a comedy club on a Thursday night when they've got 10 people in the crowd going, hey, can I do 10 minutes, and hoping that they can get the ability to do that drop-in set. And they're not getting paid for any of that time. They've got to spend time at home writing and rehearsing and researching, and doing different things just to be able to be perfectly on for that 5 minutes. And then after a year, oh, you know what? Hey, maybe if you're doing consistently, we'll go ahead and book you for 10. Oh, you know what? It's been 5 years. We'll give you a half hour.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you think? Because I've heard it's about 8 to 10 years in comedy. If you make it to a premier level where you are a paid comedian who actually, you set your own gigs. 8 to 10 years is what I've kind of heard. But you have to make it to that level though, obviously. Like when you made it to that level, you have to stay on that level. So that's almost exactly the same thing with professional athletes at that point. They play it for about 8 to 10 years, right? At a very hard level when they're younger, usually, than when comedians start out, obviously, because of high school sports, things like that, obviously. But 8 to 10 years. And then when you get there, it's fucking way harder. Like you think the getting there is hard. It's fucking way harder to stay there when you're there. And like, that's the crazy part.
Because there's 1,000 other people that want your spot.
Every day, every night, every show. And a lot of those people are going to subconsciously fucking mind spew that shit out of their brains while they're watching you. And to other people. Do you know what I'm saying? Just
and
because
saying, I can do that spot. Like, that nutsack that sits at the end of the bar, that nutsack that sits at the end of the bar talking about, I could be a better musician than Taylor Swift. She's so fucking horrible. All right, bro.
Do it then, motherfucker. Yeah.
Start that journey to be a musician.
You're a better musician than Roseanne. Like, come on, man.
And that's the thing. And so, and that's, it goes back to Tom, the stuff about Aaron Rodgers. You can't sit there and tell me that fucking reporter for the Bears in Chicago knows his ass for a hole in the ground, what it takes to really, what it means to really take a hit in the NFL.
Right. No,
and
not at
so
all.
Aaron Rodgers calling that guy a bum. You know what? I'll give that one to him.
Yeah.
Maybe he's allowed to say that one.
Absolutely. He was on McAfee's show that one time. One of my favorite quotes of his all time is they were like, well, you had a kind of a down year last year. And he literally stops him in the middle of the monologue and says, he goes, well, a down year for me is a career year for most guys.
That's because he knows.
Yeah.
And he should.
That year he went like 33-8.
Mhm.
Like it was like 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, threw for like 4,500 yards. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a career. That's the best year Kirk Cousins has ever had, or will ever have, or hasn't ever had.
Everybody's talking about
But it was a
Mahomes
down
having
year.
a down. You know, everybody's talking about Mahomes having a down year this year. You do realize he's fourth in passing and fifth in passing touchdowns, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's a bad year.
He just turned the ball over a ton, and that's not even like that was just we talked about that extensively. That's
Yeah.
totally about him just being fucking wild and free. He's the wild Mustang, bro. He never, No one's ever breaking that. No one's ever breaking that. But the Mustang can run when it needs to.
Really quick, I saw somebody point something out today about his fiance Brittany, and because like it was kind of like a side view picture of her, and somebody goes, "I didn't know that he was marrying Sid from Ice Age, the sloth."
Yeah, yep. I've gotten that same. Good God, that is terrible. That is terrible.
It's horrible. Like she can be a nice person. She's just trying to be a supportive wife. Like
to every person who thinks that Patrick Mahomes somehow fucked down on this deal. Okay.
No.
Yes, he got all this money. Okay, right. He got all this money. He's a good-looking guy. I get it. He's now really famous and really rich, and he has a really good job. And I get all that. All of that is desirable. And I get in any human relationship, I get that. Okay. He also has the biggest advantage for a person of that stature and that professional, hierarchy to have, in that he started dating this woman before he was any of that. Okay. That's the only
one person he can trust.
His parents and her are the only 3 people on planet Earth.
Because his little brother's a fucking nutsack, clearly, so you can't trust Jackson.
Maybe his brother. Maybe he doesn't
sometimes
trust his brother all the time.
Sometimes, like,
he doesn't trust all the time.
Not all the time. Like you get Jackson drunk, he'll shut up and listen. But before that, it's like that's the thing, is that's why, like, I don't blame him. I think that when Brittany's not, she can be a little more emotional than is normal for somebody that's in the public eye, and she gets a little more emotional about it. But she's supporting this man that she's been following her most of her life. I can't begrudge her that.
I would bet, and I obviously can't speak to his feelings, but I would honestly bet that he thinks that is it gives him a great amount of affection from her. You know what I mean? It's like he feels affection from her when she does that, even if he knows it's fucking stupid. Like he gets it, because it's like, okay, this is why I'm with this woman. Not totally, but this is a lot of the reason is because I know that she likes me for me.
He knows that she has his back because she actually genuinely cares for him.
Right. She likes me for me, not because. Yeah.
And at that level, with that much money, with that many assets, with all of that at stake, can you blame the guy?
No. Hey, Savannah James, LeBron James' wife, 15 years old.
And what was that Instagram model that got an NBA player to get her knocked up, and then she immediately divorced him?
Who was which NBA player? Now I'm just on which NBA player.
I can't remember.
Probably J.R. Smith.
No. It's a couple of years ago, but yeah, there was like she got knocked up and then instantly divorced him. She just wanted the money the whole time. Like she had conditioned him from when he was 17, 18 years old. This is what she was literally waiting on the whole time. It was her plan.
Well, Tony, to play devil's advocate here, that $13,000 a month child support check is probably pretty good for her. You know what I'm saying? Like she probably lives a pretty good life, just drinking mimosas at 1:30 in the afternoon and just sitting on $13,000 a month, just in that condo.
They ask how many.
In that condo. Yep. And then she's got that she's got Lupita taking care of the kids. So she didn't have to do any of that. Yeah. So that's fucking ridiculous, right?
And so Jason, I just saw your comment here. And
flash it.
There is, it's kind of long. But like, and Jay makes a good point. Like, it's a lot easier to want the money and glory than it is to muster up the integrity to live up to the contract while handling the pain and pressure consistently. Everybody makes mistakes and experiences major ups and downs. Integrity is the real value of a professional.
I like
and
that.
Is and as very well said. Like, and I know I've known Jason for a long time. He's a great guy. I have nothing but respect for him.
Is that our Jay Johnson?
Yeah,
that's our Jay Johnson. What up, Jay?
Yeah, forehead and all.
Love you, buddy. Miss you, man.
Miss you, buddy. Yeah, seriously.
Well, yeah. I'm not even going to start with the comparisons. I'm not even going to do it.
No.
He doesn't have a profile picture on there on purpose.
I think
because he knows I would just. Yeah.
Let's. I don't want to scare him away. We actually have viewers. Let's not fuck it up.
Hi, Jay. Miss you, buddy.
I love you too, Jay.
No.
But so but in wrapping this up here, man, like in the integrity makes a difference, and I think that's why you see, because the truth of the matter is, Aaron Rodgers is kind of an asshole off the field, but on the field he does it right. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He produces results time in and time out. Tom Brady, same thing.
Right.
Yes, Spygate and Deflategate, what the fuck ever. But let's be realistic here. Let's be realistic here. That's exactly what happens, and that's why these guys get this award.
Well, and
because you're the guy that's the integrity one, that's doing all of the extra stuff off the field and the side stuff. That's what the Walter Payton Man of the Year is. I love that award exists. Don't get me wrong. I love that award exists. I think that there have been some amazing things that these players have done that have been brought to light that would have been known if it wasn't for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. But that's not what they're up. That's not what he's up for. And he is the MVP.
And even before I knew it was our Jay Johnson, I read that comment as he was trying to say, just in every kind of aspect of your life, it is so much easier just to aim for the fucking top. And if you bust, you bust. You better get the fuck back up. Instead of let's just get there. And then when I get money and when I get these accolades for the things that I really haven't quite accomplished yet, to try and just kind of hide back and just live in that cocoon for a second.
Absolutely.
Because you are adding so much inner turmoil to yourself, because you're fucking doing it more than anybody else knows you're doing it. People can see that you're doing it, but inside that you're doing it. And I think what he's saying is, like, with the pain and depression, like, that could cause depression, that can cause issues with your own personal psyche, and nothing's worth that.
No,
so go for it or don't.
And that's the thing is you're going to get so much more out of the experience, like, especially if that's what you're wanting to do in any kind of performance atmosphere, whether it's athletics, arts, these things like this, where you are in the public eye in complete, for majority of the time. There is no way, you have to just do it, because those little things make a difference. Like Jay said, the little things matter, because Jay's here. I'll tell this story. I think you may have heard this one before. So Slash was doing an interview with a Rolling Stone reporter, and they were inside a Guitar Center. And he opens up, he says, Slash, everybody, they want to sound like you. So, what gear are you using? What's the stuff that you're using? Slash went over to the used guitar wall, pulled a Squier Strat off the wall, hooked it into a cheap $50 amp, and just started shredding.
Yep.
Just fucking going and going and going. And then he handed it to him and he said, here, okay, now you do it. And the guy just looked, he was like, I can't play guitar that good. He goes, exactly. He spends hours a day practicing. Hours a day writing, hours a day doing those things. That's why he's able to be at the level he's at one of the arguably one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Like, let's be honest. I mean, I don't think there's really much debate about that. So at that level, in any aspect, that's what it takes.
There's the Jack White, the beginning of This
Great
Might Get
example.
Loud is almost the exact same thing, but he just does it shorter. He just makes if nobody's seen this, I'll just do it real quick. He basically has a 2x4, and he's just stapling, or he's nailing fretboards onto it, and then he puts one string over top of it in a Coke bottle and tightens it down, and just doesn't even tune it, and just puts a pickup underneath it, and just plays with a just play. I think it's another bottle or something, and just and makes it. He goes, "Hey, who says you need to buy a guitar?" And it's just like a minute long. But it's great.
I like Jack White. He's a really smart dude.
Yeah, he's basically just saying, like, you don't need all this fancy shit. Just go play a lot. Like, if you love to play a lot.
Because the truth of the matter is, in any position at that level, it's the 0.0001% that actually get there. So spend so much time playing and just playing to play to play. Don't play looking at that top level.
Right.
Don't look up. Look forward.
Right.
Just keep playing, keep performing, because if they say it like in a trade position, you need to have 5,000 hours, about 5 years 5,000 hours, 5 to 10,000 hours in to really to know a trade.
I think it's 10,000. I think is what they say. Yeah.
Yeah. Electrician, plumber, any of these like that. And if you put 10,000 hours in, clearly you should know what you're doing. You want to be a professional football player? Guess what? Instead of putting 40 hours a week into, running an accounting firm, you need to have that 40 hours a week in a gym and studying film, doing drills to get your footwork right.
Right.
And
also a much more specific job function as well, right? Because I mean, being a restaurant manager, being an account manager, being a bank man, these are you have very many tasks that you have to spread yourself, evenly throughout. While if I am Nick Chubb right now, I have 18 plays that I run.
Right.
So I do 18, but on a much more difficult level. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not
Right.
like you just go out and talk to an employee and you get a torn ACL. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
right.
We're talking different risks. Yeah.
These guys have to study these routes. So if this happens, I've got to do this. If that happens, I've got to do that. There's all of these different things that these guys have to be aware of, and the work that it takes to be at that level. As a comic, if you ask a question to the crowd, you've got to be prepared for every response that you could get. As a basketball player, yeah, there's only 5 players that are going against you, but you've got to be aware enough of what you can do and also understanding what they're going to do to be able to react and who to pass to and who's going to get the shot, what this play is going to be. There's so many different things.
It's almost like the intensity is there in all of those high level jobs, but the intensity just spikes quicker in some of the you know what I'm saying? Like it spikes quicker in professional sports. What are we saying?
And like Jay Johnson, humility is also critical to handling the adversity of being a human being in the spotlight, because you have to work to continue to want to be better, but you have to accept that you could at any point no longer be the best in your field, even if you are. Dave Chappelle works really hard at what he does as a comic because yes, he knows he is the GOAT of comedy right now. He knows that, but he also knows that at any point something could happen and somebody's bubble somebody could just rise up and all of a sudden Dave Chappelle is nothing no more.
Tony, I'm actually I literally thought the same thing, but the opposite. So I think that humility is important because I think that we know our own archaic carnal minds, and the fact that if we go over an edge to where we think that we're the greatest thing that's ever happened to fucking planet Earth, like we can go the bad way upwards as well.
Lose yourself really well.
You can pull a little Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Not to bring it all back around, guys, because we do an all back around show every time. It's a circle.
All back around.
It's a circle.
It's a circle.
It's not a square.
Triangle. Not triangle.
Not triangle.
It's a circle.
That's sides. Yeah. We get the circle thing. No, but yes, it's a circle. It comes all back around. But yes, it's the same thing.
I love that movie.
Thanks, Jay. Your insight has been it is washed over me like a magical stream of just academia. All I can think is academic and music and just a great beard. It's a great beard now.
I love how he just popped up like he had been hiding and like he was an assassin, and all of a sudden he was just there. His presence was just born on us.
His first message is long time listener, first time writer. He's just been hanging out, not mentioning the fact that he watches every show.
Just
in the darkness.
Okay. All right, so as we're wrapping up tonight, Dan.
The sad thing about that, Tony, is that this is the first time he was like, "Oh, I actually want to comment on this because it's interesting me enough."
Yeah, and we're never going to hear from him.
He just tuned out. He just tuned out. Yeah, he was like, "See this?
All right,
it's going stupid again."
Real quick, final thoughts.
I think we covered it all. I think we got it all out into the show, So I think whenever I ask you final thoughts, I'm like, I didn't save anything for this, man. I went fucking 100%, bro. I go 100%.
I love it.
I go 100% every fucking time we do this, except last night with Josh. in the AEW thing, I did not go 100% because I didn't have the capability to go 100% because I fucking know nothing about the AEW. I was going 100% trying to learn about the AEW, but when you're trying to learn about something, it would be literally like somebody filming you trying to learn Spanish for the first time. It's like
what did you think though? Did you like it?
Dude, I genuinely do not like professional wrestling. I think that if I watched it by myself and made my own, like, I feel like all of my opinions are based on other people's opinions of my opinion at this point. Yeah. Does that make sense? It's weird.
It's not for everybody. And I mean, I don't watch it near as much now as I used to. Like every once in a while I'll sit down, I'll hear about a good match that happened.
When I watch it over like Castle or like NYPD Blue, 100%. Yes, 100%. But like, I'm not like, Fargo, no. Like, I'm saying, like, or the NFL, no. Like, it's just in the middle.
It's just there.
Which doesn't make you a fan. It makes you just a casual watcher.
Fan, yeah.
And you can't be a casual watcher of professional wrestling because there are legitimate storylines that are not reported. As far unless you actually research it, which you would have to then enjoy the sport to. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's kind of. I feel like it's a snowball thing, and it can happen. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, no, it's. There are some talented gymnasts, and they do a lot of work as far as creative storytelling. And I have an understanding of professional wrestling and I think that those guys are talented for what they do. It's just not a performance for me. Like I certainly I'm not going to go to a Taylor Swift pop concert,
right?
But it doesn't mean I don't think she's talented.
Absolutely, it's just not for you personally. And also, I think, and this is not a slight against it. I think that the randomness of I'm just going to go with sports, the randomness of the other sports, and that there isn't I'm not saying there's a definite outcome, but there is a planned outcome because of the storyline. It kills it for me, and it doesn't kill it for some people. You know what I'm saying? Like some people don't mind it. It just kills it for me.
Yeah, and I can understand that. That makes a lot of sense. All right. For me, I mean, Aaron Rodgers should be the MVP. I think that I'm not saying the dude's a Boy Scout. I think the guy's an asshole too, but on the field, there's a clear choice. Sorry.
He is. And actually,
objectively, there's a clear choice
for our discussions, Tony. I want Aaron Rodgers to lose the MVP to Joe Burrow, to Macaulay Culkin. Sorry.
And that's if Joe Burrow was MVP, I wouldn't get mad. He's played his ass off. He at least deserves comeback player of the year. I feel like he deserves it more than Dak.
I wouldn't be mad, but God, the Aaron Rodgers eye rolls would literally just be like tsunami style. Like he was like, oh my fucking God.
I think if he gets that a second MVP, his eye, like the retinas are going to detach in his eyes a bit for some reason, because he's just so good at what he does. He's not going to lose his vision, but his eyes are going to be able to just completely roll in his head.
They're like California waves. They're like California waves. Like, hey, Green Bay. He's from California, right? You guys remind yourself that on a regular basis that he's not really like, he just plays there because you give him a bunch of money. He really doesn't even probably like you people. Honestly, he does like you people because he's played with you now. But like at first, he didn't like you at all, and I'm sure you didn't like him. Cold. You sure didn't like him. He's like, oh, fucking cocky California kid. And guess what? Yeah. This motherfucker came out and balled the fuck out. Now you guys are like, we like each other. It's a mutual kind of love-hate thing. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yep. It is beautiful. But all right. Okay. So we're going to wrap this up. We've been going up for almost 2 hours, and I would like to fucking eat something tonight. So thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Jay, I know you got to join in. Josh, thank you as well. Don't forget to check us out. We will be back we'll probably bring After Dark back in as far as doing regular episodes, a couple more months. We'll work that out. You can hit us up on Facebook. Definitely join the Sports Report After Dark group, since we definitely want to have the conversation going there. And you can catch both of us on Monday nights on the Sports Report at 10 Eastern on the Pinfall Network, on our channels on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. For Dan and myself, thank you for checking out this special edition of Sports Report After Dark.
Love you, Jay. You Josh Brolin like a motherfucker.
Have a good night.